Welcome to Spellbound Studio, everybody. My name is Tracy, and this is Fan Art Friday. It is May. It is Star Wars month, so that means today's Fan Art Friday is going to feature Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress is one of the most emotionally honest characters Star Wars has ever produced, because her story refuses the franchise's usual comfort. She's not redeemed by purity or elevated by destiny. She's not rescued by belief in a higher cause. She survives. And that survival over time becomes something sharper than allegiance and more durable than faith. But before we get into it, please become a star in the Spellbound constellation by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And for ways that you can further support Spellbound Studio, check the links in the description below. Thank you. When Asajj Ventress first appears, she is presented as spectacle. She's a weapon, an assassin, a living extension of Count Dooku's will. She moves with theatrical cruelty, she speaks in taunts, and she wields her lightsabers like punctuation marks. At first, she looks like another dark side enforcer, another cautionary tale about anger and ambition. But even in these early portrayals, something feels different. Her rage is very specific, it's personal. This is not the abstract hunger for power that generally defines the Sith. This is the anger of someone who has been abandoned repeatedly and has learned that attachment is a liability. The expanded universe material gives us what the screen only hints at: more context. Asajj's childhood is not tragic in a mythic, distant way. It is intimate. She was born on Dathomir, a world that was already marked by danger, and taken from it at a young age. She was raised as a slave. She was then freed by a Jedi who trained her not as an equal but as a dependent. When the Jedi is killed, the Jedi Order does not step in to protect her, it steps away. And that silence does matter. Asajj learns early that institutions do not save you unless you fit their image of worthiness. When she eventually falls under Dooku's influence, it is not because she craves darkness. It is because he offers structure, recognition, and purpose. All of these are things that the Jedi denied her. Count Dooku does not just train Asajj, he validates her pain. And that validation is intoxicating. But in the case of Count Dooku, this validation is also conditional. To him, Asajj is valuable only as long as she is useful. When Lord Sidious demands her removal, Count Dooku does not hesitate. And the lesson lands with devastating clarity. It's that loyalty is always temporary when power is centralized. This betrayal is not really framed as a shocking twist. It is framed as something that's inevitable. Asajj has been shaped by a lifetime of conditional belonging. So when she is discarded, targeted for elimination by the very system she upheld, this is where her story fractures and where it really starts. Returning to the Nightsisters is not a homecoming, but it's a reckoning. Dathomir is not sentimental about her pain. Mother Talzin does not erase her past or absolve her choices. Instead, she contextualizes them. She gives Asajj language for what happened to her, not as personal failure, but as exploitation. The magic used to restore Asajj's strength is invasive, uncomfortable, and deeply embodied. Power is reclaimed not through denial of suffering, but through acknowledgement of it. And then almost immediately that refuge is destroyed. The massacre of the Nightsisters removes Asajj's last remaining illusion, that belonging can be permanent. What follows in both animated canon and the expanded universe material is not a redemption arc, but a recalibration. Asajj does not replace one ideology with another. She does not run to the light side of the Force seeking forgiveness. Instead, she just opts out. She becomes a bounty hunter, a mercenary, someone who chooses her contracts, she sets her boundaries, and walks away when the cost becomes too high. And in Star Wars, this is a pretty radical ideal to have in one's life. When you think about it, the bounty hunters really do have the most freedom. The expanded universe allows Ventress to become something that the films hardly ever permit. A woman whose story that continues after ideology. In novels like Dark Disciple, she is not redeemed through sacrifice alone, but through connection chosen freely rather than imposed. Her relationship with Quinlan Vos is messy, uneven, and rooted in mutual damage rather than moral alignment. They do not save each other by becoming better Jedi or purer people. They save each other by refusing to reduce one another to tools. Asajj's death, when it does come, is not framed as punishment, it's framed as completion. She chooses to give her life not for an order or for a prophecy, but for a person she loves, on her own terms. This distinction does matter. She is not returning to the light as an institution. She is acting from attachment, from care, and from fully embodied choice. And this is the very thing that the Jedi doctrine warns against, and this becomes a source of Asajj Ventress's final clarity. What makes Asajj Ventress so resonant is that she exposes the moral hypocrisy baked in the Star Wars power structures. The Jedi claim to protect the vulnerable, yet they repeatedly abandon those who fall outside of their strict definitions. The Sith promise empowerment, yet they rely on disposability as a feature. Asajj lives in the wreckage left by both systems. Her anger is not a failure to control emotion, it is an accurate response to exploitation. And unlike many fallen characters, she does not seek absolution, she wants agency, she wants to be in control of her life. Over time, she learns to recognize manipulation when it appears, to reject grand narratives that demand her obedience, and to value survival without surrendering her capacity for connection. This evolution is subtle. It does not come with new robes or a grand title. It comes with restraint, with walking away, and she chooses when to fight and when not to fight. And her story is also a one of strength. Asajj Ventress begins as a blunt instrument, and she ends as something far more dangerous. She's a person who knows herself. She understands her capacity for violence and she does not let others control that for her. She understands love without mistaking it for obligation. And she receives loss, and she doesn't let it hollow her out. And in this way, Asajj Ventress functions as a critique of the saga's obsession with destiny. She is not chosen by prophecy or, brought back to her rightful place or have a legacy that explains her suffering. And everything that she becomes, it's deliberate. It's after the universe has shown her exactly how little it cares about her. But she still cares anyway. And that choice to care without guarantees is the heart of her story. It's why she remains compelling so long after her time in the universe ends. Asajj Ventress is not a warning about the dark side. It is a warning about what happens when institutions confuse control with morality, and when compassion is offered to those who conform. She is not the tragedy of falling. She is the resilience of standing back up without pretending that the fall did not change her. In a galaxy obsessed with light and dark, Asajj Ventress lives in the space where survival, love, and autonomy intersect. And she proves that sometimes the most meaningful victory is simply refusing to be used again. Well, everybody, thank you. If you're still here till the end of this video, I do appreciate you spending time with me. Please let me know what you think about Asajj Ventress in the comments. And until next time, may the Force be with you.